Today I'm going to show you how I take this Jetta TDI and put this in service mode or service position. The service position is what the Volkswagen engineers have decided is best for this vehicle, and what they want you to do is to move the front forward to give you access to the front of the engine, and that's critical for a lot of repairs you want to do on this engine. These are the tools that you'll need for this job. First of all, a ratchet and then a 10mm socket or a 10mm wrench to disconnect your battery as you start. Then to remove the splash shield, you need a Torx T25, T45 to remove that. Then a T30 will be needed later on for 2 bolts up top. Then you're going to have to disconnect your coolant hoses, and to do that you need hose clamp pliers or other pliers that you can use for that. Anything that will work for you, but you need to disconnect those hoses. You'll also have to disconnect your intercooler pipes, and to do that you need some pliers as well. And then of course you're going to need to disconnect electrical connectors, and I would use a small pick or a small screwdriver to help you get those things disconnected. Now, as you know, the main part of this whole job is to slide the front off the subframe of the vehicle, and to do that you need to loosen the front where it's connected to the subframe, and those have 16mm bolts, 8 of those, so you need a ratchet for that, extension, and then 16mm socket to get that off. Now you're going to replace 2 of those bolts with 2 sliders that the front end is going to slide on as it comes off the subframe. And Volkswagen do supply special tools for that. They have 2 sliders that you can order from them, and you can buy those, and I'll put a link in the description if you're looking for those. But many guys have used bolts like these to slide the front end on. And I've read that people use 10mm bolts, 100mm long, and 1.5 pitch. Now, the day that I went to the hardware store, they didn't have those. So I got these. These are 9/16, and they are 5 inches. And so these worked very well for me, so I could recommend them. I think the 10mm would probably work well as well. Of course, if you're going to use 9/16, you need a 9/16 socket or wrench to actually get these tightened up or to loosen them later on. Like any job, you need light and you need eye protection. Now you want to get your vehicle on jack stands and then open the hood. As you can see, I'm just doing this at home in my garage. Now you want to make sure you disconnect your battery. This is normally a 10mm socket, or you can use a wrench, of course. Now you're going to remove the front bumper. So to take off the splash shield, you have 4 T25 screws on each side, left and right, and then right at the back you have T45s, 3 of them across, and then right in the front you have another T25 just underneath the bumper. So now it's just a matter of taking these off. Now, I've been struggling to find videos online about the service position, so that's why I'm making this video. But now it's become clear to me that if the front end slides forward, this bracket over here is going to be stuck against the frame, and so this will have to be removed. Now, this is the bottom radiator hose, so I'm going to have to drain the coolant, which is a little bit tricky on this vehicle because some of these Volkswagens don't have petcock valves, and you're going to have to remove a hose. Now, I think to remove it up here where it goes into the radiator is going to be quite messy because all the coolant is going to be splashing all around in this area. So I'm rather going to move it somewhere else. I'm going to follow this hose. So I'm just going to follow this hose and see where it goes up there, and I'm rather going to disconnect there on the hose clamp and drain the coolant from this position. I think it's going to be much cleaner and easier procedure than the other side. So what you've got to do here is open this clip over here, this plastic one, and then the hose clamp, bring that down, and then what you'll see is you'll see that the hose is pushed up against the plastic lip over there. So you've got to get something in there and try and loosen it up a bit to move down. The issue that you have, of course, is that this whole section over here moves with the hose, and so you're going to have to support that to pull the hose off. But this seems to me the only way to get this hose off there. Well, there's no way you can stop this from getting messy. As you pull this down, you'll see it splashes everywhere, so you've got to be ready with a pan underneath. Now you just got to empty your radiator. Now the whole idea about service position is that the front end of the vehicle is going to slide out and give space to work with. And so now we're going to start prepping for that. We're going to have to do the hood release. We're going to do some bolts up top. We're going to have to do some bolts from the front. We're going to put the sliders in, and then we are going to disconnect electrical and hoses that would prevent the front from sliding outwards. Now we'll disconnect the hood release. You'll see it's got two tabs over here, and just slide that out. Now we'll bring the release up here, and what you'll see is it has two cables just connected there. So you just pop this out of a clip, the one end, just like that. Now you'll find at the back of your headlights, there's a bolt there, 10 millimeter, one on each side of your vehicle that you're going to have to remove. And this is going to just allow your front end to slide forward with the lights intact. Now we're going to loosen this bolt over here. This is a Torx 30, and you're not going to bother with any of these. You'll see all four of these other bolts here, but you leave them intact. You don't touch them. You only do this one bolt over here on the side with a T30, and you find the same on the other side, the passenger side there. And what will happen is this whole unit, everything else is going to move forward from the car. So this is the only bolt that actually connects it to the frame. And this is the one you have to make sure you loosen up. And make sure you take this one off. Now this is where things get interesting. You'll see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts running from the front end into the actual subframe of the vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to first of all just remove the top outer one, the one on the outside of the vehicle from the top. We'll remove that, and then we'll put a slider in there, and after that we'll remove the rest, and you'll see that the whole front end will actually slide. So this is a 16 millimeter, and you want to just take off of the 4 on this side, just the top right hand one. Comes right out like that. Now there's a special part that you get from Volkswagen that will slide in through there. But what I'm going to do, so I don't have time to wait for that, is I just got a bolt from the hardware store, and it's got a similar thread to the M10, which is really what you need to go in there. So I don't have the M10, but I'm going to use this, and I think it's going to be okay. And as long as this bolt is the distance that you actually are going to want to slide your front end. Now what I'm going to do just to help that bolt is I'm going to put a nut on the back side, and I'm hoping that that will help stabilize it. You do this on the passenger side as well. Once you have both your sliding bolts fixed, you're going to be taking out the other 6 bolts. Once you've removed all 6 of these other supporting bolts, you'll see that the whole front end is just now resting on these 2 sliding bolts that you've inserted, and it's going to move along that. Now there's one more thing we need to do before we can slide the front forward, and that is to take out this hood support. And to do this, you need to find another way to keep your hood open while you're working on the car. Now there may be better ways of doing this, more sophisticated ways I'd say, but I've just got 2 wooden blocks there supporting the hood, and I think that's going to work for me. I almost forgot about the snorkel over here. You can see I already broke these clips before. I've got this tape holding it on, but this snorkel needs to be moved out so that the front end will be released. Now for the moment of truth. What's supposed to happen is that the front end is supposed to just slide out now on these sliding bolts. This is what I know is supposed to happen, but I'm not 100% sure it's going to happen. We'll see. It's one of those things that Volkswagen is just keeping secret to themselves. They don't really publish much of this on the internet. We are going to give us a try. So I'm just going to start pulling from the front. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. We've got the movement. So I think it's going to work as it should, but before I can call this a success, I need to just disconnect the electrical connections and hoses that keep this front from moving out all the way. Isn't this something though, that the whole front end just hangs on those 2 sliding bolts? Who would have thunk it? So this is the first connector I'm going to remove. So on the driver's side, then it's going to be 1, 2, 3. On the passenger side, it's 1 there, it's 2 over there, and then I'll show you the third one. This is the third one here by the horn in front. Just take your time with these clips. You don't want to break them, and they are just plastic. But you'll see what happens here is there's a catch over there and a small little latch on the top. And so when it goes in, what you want to do is you want to press the whole connector in towards the front while you then lift up this part over here, and it releases that little catch down there and brings it out from there. So that's what you want to do. Just take it slow, take it easy, don't rush, don't break your connectors. Now that we've done the electrical connections, we're going to get onto these intercooler hoses, and I'll do 1 on each side, and then we'll get to the radiator hoses. So this clip gets pulled out, moved to the side, and then the hose comes right off, just like that. So yeah, we'll do the same thing. We'll get this clip out, Move it to the side and just move the hole. Looks like there's some water in that intercooler pipe right there. And I'm going to take off the top radiator hose. Luckily I have a bucket underneath. I'll catch most of that. So now it's becoming clear that only this lower radiator hose is stopping the front from sliding all the way out. It bumps up against the frame over here, and so that needs to be removed. But once this is removed, it'll be all systems go, and we'll be able to slide this right out. Okay, so the way to remove this is just the spring clip. You access it on the side, and you can pull that right off. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Volkswagen service position. Look at all the space here and access to all the parts. This is exactly what you want. You just don't want to spend all this time trying to get here. But I'm glad I did it, and now there's a video out there and people can watch and see how to get to the VW service position. Watch me slide it back again. And then watch me slide it forward. Sliding in and sliding back out. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this is helpful when you need to work on the front end of your Volkswagen vehicles. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe.